Today's video, I'll be discussing a concept that strikes fear in the heart of many Jehovah's Witnesses. The word we're talking about today is apostasy. Now, if you mention the word apostate or apostasy to a Jehovah's Witness, you'll see the terror in their eyes as they recoil in fear, thinking about how dangerous, how deceptive, how vile apostates are. Now, why do Jehovah's Witnesses feel this way? Well, if you look into the Society's literature, let's say the 2004 WatchTower, let's see how it describes apostates. Satan has long used apostates in his efforts to seduce God's servants. Apostates may claim to worship Jehovah and to believe in the Bible, but they reject the visible part of his organization. Some even return to the God-dishonoring doctrines of Babylon the Great, the world empire of false religion. Under divine inspiration, the Bible writers use strong words to expose the motives and the methods of apostates. According to the WatchTower, the Bible uses strong words to refer to apostates. Well, let's take them at their word. Let's look and see exactly how many times the Bible talks about apostasy, what the context is of each occasion, and what that means for us today. We'll see anytime it mentions apostate, apostates in plural, or the word apostasy. So if you click on the Bible itself and see how many times the word apostate appears in the main text of the Bible, you'll see if you don't include the footnotes, the word apostate appears at my count 17 times in the Hebrew scriptures and 2 times in the Greek scriptures. So if you think about the word apostate, how it's used in the Hebrew scriptures, in most of the context it's talking about people who leave the religion of the Old Testament or the Hebrew scriptures, meaning people who deviate from the religion of the Jews. So a person who would leave the Jewish religion or the Hebrew religion and would go in to worship other gods that were not Jehovah, these people would be labeled an apostate. Now, would it really be intellectually honest to use any of those scriptures to refer to someone who leaves Jehovah's Witnesses? Those scriptures are all talking about people who leave the Jewish religion, the Hebrew faith. Now, we can see that it is inappropriate to use any of those scriptures to refer to someone who leaves the Jehovah's Witness religion when we look at the references in the Greek scriptures. See in the book of Acts, the first reference to the word apostate or apostasy in the Greek scriptures. And we'll see that in this reference, it's talking about the Apostle Paul. Paul, an apostate? Well, let's look at the verse. Addressing Paul, but they have heard it rumored about you that you have been teaching all the Jews among the nations an apostasy from Moses, telling them neither to circumcise their children nor to walk in the solemn customs. Thus the Apostle Paul, a Christian, was accused of being an apostate. Well, this is a very appropriate use of the word apostate because, according to the Hebrew scriptures, anyone who would leave the Hebrew or Jewish religion was an apostate. Paul indeed did this. He had deviated from the religion of his birth. He had realized that the Jewish religion was not the truth, and therefore he was no longer teaching the customs of the Jews. Therefore, the Jews aptly called him an apostate. So we can see that this verse does not qualify the use of the term apostate to refer to anyone who leaves Jehovah's Witnesses, because this verse is still talking about apostasy as it refers to people leaving the Jewish religion. Well, there's still one more scripture that talks about apostasy in the Greek scriptures. Maybe this verse talks about someone who is leaving Jehovah's Witnesses, and we can see how it applies. Which says, "Let no one seduce you in any manner, because it will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness gets revealed, the son of destruction." Now we know that the Society claims that this verse refers to starting in the 2nd century of our common era, after the death of the apostles, the clergy of Christendom began to set up an apostate form of Christianity. Well, again, this verse is not talking about people in modern times leaving Jehovah's Witnesses, but the Society refers to this as the apostatizing from 1st century Christianity that began in the 2nd century. So once again, there's no clear scripture that talks about apostates apostatizing or deviating from Jehovah's Witnesses. So the claim that Jehovah's Witnesses have made in the 2004 WatchTower that Bible writers clearly discuss the dangers of apostasy never refers in any single occasion to anyone leaving Jehovah's Witnesses. I wonder why the Society is so scared of apostates. Well, let's continue reading and see how the Society describes what apostates do. And you, dear viewer, decide for yourself. Is this the message that you get from channels such as my own and from other channels such as WatchTower Comments? Let's read on. So what methods do apostates use to achieve their aim? They often resort to distortions, half-truths, and outright falsehoods. Such malicious opposers would tell us what is not true with the intent to deceive others. The Apostle Peter warned about apostates who would use counterfeit words, spread deceptive teachings, and twist the scriptures to their own ends. Sadly, apostates succeed in subverting the faith of some. So you can see the society says that apostates spread half-truths, deceptions, lies. Well, in my videos, if you see any deceptions or lies, feel free to mention what they are. I'm merely encouraging people to look and see what the Bible actually says about a given subject matter, which is exactly what the society claims to do itself. Finally, the society has told us how we can be careful of those who would want to mislead us. In the article 5 Common Fallacies, Don't Be Fooled by Them, the Awake magazine mentions, fallacies may nevertheless be powerfully persuasive because they often make a strong appeal to emotions, not to reason. The first fallacy that the society mentions in this article is attacking the person. This type of fallacy attempts to disprove or discredit a perfectly valid argument or statement by making an irrelevant attack on the person presenting it. How easy it is to label someone stupid, crazy, or uninformed when he or she says something we don't want to hear. While personal attacks, subtle and not so subtle, may intimidate and persuade, never do they disprove what has been said, so be alert to this fallacy. So while the society is very quick to attack persons who may criticize them as being apostates, and knows that that will cause Jehovah's Witnesses to feel fear, this is actually a common fallacy, and as the society says, don't be fooled by it. If you're watching this video, you're disobeying the WatchTower Society's stand on apostasy, but good for you. Learn to think for yourself. Question what you believe, just as Jehovah's Witnesses tell others to question what they believe. Once you think for yourself, you can make an informed decision about what you will believe and will not depend on other people to make that decision for you.